I was hearing things. He said, if I can't hear it and I'm right beside you, then it's just in your head and you have to find a way to cast it down. And he told me only you can stop it. He said you can go and take medication, but only you can stop it. And my dad would sit there and read scriptures to me about not being scared and not having that fear and stuff. But that fear is bad because you live every day in your life of constant fear. You fear that people will leave you. You feel that nobody loves you. My daddy, I would like try to follow him to the bathroom. I'd be so scared. You know, and you fix yourself on one person. You fix yourself on that one person that you can really trust, and you try to cling to them. But then when they have to leave you, you lose it again. So you have to get to a place where you don't lose it when you're by yourself. And that's the place that I had got to. It would take many years later, but I finally got to that place. And what helped me get to that place was actually my daddy dying. When my daddy died and I found out that I had nobody else to depend on or that I could trust, that's when I really put my complete trust in God. That's when my nerves broke down and everything. I was so scared. And it would be several times my daddy would have to hold my hand going into church just to hear a sermon. I mean, so I suffered through this a long time, so I know where my son is coming from. And I thought drugs and alcohol would help me. The best thing I could do for my mental well-being was to quit doing drugs and quit drinking. That was the best thing I could do. You would not find me getting drunk, and you're not, because the hallucinations and stuff I got to the point of that I was having, it was because of the stuff that I was putting in my body. When my nerves broke down, I didn't even know it was called a fast until one of these apostles told me, said, "Oh, you're on a Daniel fast." I was like, "What is that? Where you don't eat nothing but fruits and vegetables?" I went literally 2 years on Ensure and the fruits and vegetables. That was all I could eat. My body would not stand meat. I couldn't take meat in. None of that stuff. It was horrible. It was a horrible time in my life. And everything flashed before me and then broke. Everything felt so heavy, and then all of a sudden, this is what it feels like when you have a nervous breakdown. Everything feels so heavy on your chest. I mean, it feels heavy. It feels like the world. I mean, literally, like books sitting on your chest. And like even your legs are heavy. Your hands are heavy. You're trying to walk in a heaviness of fear. That's what it feels like. You're walking with a heavy block of fear. You're scared of everything, but you don't want to tell nobody because you don't want people to think you're crazy or not normal. So you sit around people, you fake laugh, you fake smile, you dress up to look good while on the inside you're dying. Dying a slow spiritual death. Sometimes dying physically. I would sit up at night, and I wouldn't tell nobody. I'd leave all the lights on in the house because I didn't want to see nothing. I was tired of seeing stuff. And I knew when I cut the lights off, that's when I would start seeing stuff. But you walk, that weight would draw you into psychosis. That weight of trying to carry every little burden, every little detail of your life. It would carry you into psychosis, anxiety, panic attacks, heart attacks, joint trouble, joint disorder. It affects everything in your body, your mind and your body. You'll have thoughts racing, your eyes are turned. I remember my eyes looked at a certain way. Like now when I get stressed out, if you look on my pictures, my eyes kind of dilate now when I get stressed out. So I know that's my time when to back off of it, leave it alone. Whatever's worrying you, let it go. That's when I know it's time to leave it alone. And I do. But, let me see. Yeah, my eyes would be dilated. Not dilated. Yeah, sometimes they dilate, but then sometimes they get real little. But that weight feels so heavy on you till your body and your heart can't take anymore. It can't take anymore. It's going to do one of the two things. You're either going to have a heart attack. Well, maybe more than two things. You're either going to have a heart attack or scare yourself to death. You're going to scare yourself to death. I mean, literal, like physical death. Like, you ain't coming back no more. Like 6 feet under death. You will scare yourself to death. And that will cause you to have a heart attack too. And you'll be sitting there with your eyes fixed wide open because you're so scared of what's going to happen. You're trying to take on too much. And when it finally breaks down on you, all you feel is this break. You feel broken. I mean, you literally feel the break in your body. For me, it felt like my body broke in half and was split down the middle from my forehead all the way down when I had my nervous breakdown. And that was, I don't know, that was like the worst one I've ever had. It was like a major nervous breakdown. And my nerves started shaking in my arms and my legs. I was so scared. I didn't recognize anybody. I didn't know my mama. My mama was in the hospital room with me. I didn't even know her. I didn't know my sisters. I didn't know nobody, y'all. That's how bad it was. And it felt so horrible because I wanted to know them, but I couldn't. I went so far out of reality because I couldn't deal with the things that were going on in my life. I couldn't deal with the fact that my daddy just passed. I couldn't deal with the fact that I couldn't help him, that I couldn't stop him from dying. I couldn't deal with the fact that people were treating him wrong, which was hurting me, and I didn't speak up and say anything. I couldn't deal with the fact that he had been placed in the wrong grave, and I got the blame for it, and I had to, take on a lot of stuff by myself. It hurt so bad. I couldn't deal with that stuff. So what it did, it broke me down. And I stayed in the hospital. A long time. I got the picture up on Facebook. It caused my lungs to have blood clots in them. Well, that's what they first diagnosed me with, blood clots in the lungs. After that had happened, everything broke down on me. My stomach messed up. And it do start in the stomach, by the way, y'all. Everything messed up on me completely. I went blind in my eye, my right eye. It was so much. I was like, wow. I couldn't believe that I had let problems that weren't going to last break me down like that. And that's the way you got to look at it. You got to, when you look at somebody with mental illness, you know it's going to pass. You don't know when, but you know it's going to pass. So you just try to keep good intentions. Like with my son, I just try to stay content. Even when I feel myself, sometimes I'm stretched with sleep. I don't get much sleep. I still try to look at the bright side of things. I'll be like, well, I'm learning a lot about him. Because you're going to learn a lot about that person. Things that you never even knew that they could do. Like, I didn't know my son could dance. I never seen my son dance. For real dance. I never seen him dance till this condition started. So I looked at it as a positive thing. I'm learning new things now. I didn't know I could be a radio announcer. I didn't know I could talk for an hour to anybody. I didn't know any of these things. So I learned a lot about myself, and, I'm learning a lot about my son. It's so much brooding. Let me put it like this. Everybody is special in their own way. And it's so much brooding in being patient and just learning to live with people how they are. Not trying to make them someone different. Now, the only reason why I had to intervene with my son was because he became dangerous. He became violent and aggressive, and he became a harm to himself. And I know there's life for him. There's a life out here for him. And that's why I stepped in, to have him, institutionalized, to help him get through that. Because institutionalized is not bad. It's not a bad thing. There's going to be a lot of group therapy in there. He's going to get to see that, hey, there's other people in there that's normal and that you can get along with. It's just that sometimes people can't handle everything that's going on in life right then and there. And that's how they, end up breaking down. My son was going through a whole lot. He was going through a bad breakup. He had lost his job. He didn't know how to cope with those things. See, we go to high school and all this stuff, and we learn a lot of stuff about math and science and health, but you never learn anything about the mental well-being. That should be a class added, because that's the most important class that we're going to ever need in life, is how to handle things mentally. That's where all our decisions come from, whether they're good ones or bad ones. That's our life right there. Nutrition and the mind. I wouldn't mind writing a book on that. Nutrition and the mind. The one thing that helped me was eating better. When I started eating better, I started thinking better. When I started exercising, more circulation started flowing, so then my brain started working. When I started learning that these things aren't real and that nothing has happened yet, so don't panic. During the time we were looking for my son, I was calm for the most part till the guy started doing what he was doing. I ain't gonna go into that, but I was calm for the most part. It was times when we were looking for my son, when he had took that car, that I would tell my daughter, let's stop and just pray. Let's just be still for a minute. So now, before I respond to stuff quickly and eagerly and all kind of anxiety and stuff, before I respond now, I'll stop, take me a breath, and then see what needs to be done. See what I can do on my end to make sure that everyone is safe. To make sure whatever decision needs to be made is the right decision. Instead of just thinking I got to do it right now, and letting my thoughts get the best of me. One thing about it is I have to just say, thoughts, you don't even matter. You don't even matter. And I look at myself as a third party. I be like, now what would I do if this was somebody else that I know? Sometimes you got to step outside of how you feel. Emotionally, for my son, it hurts. But when I step out from the emotions and I look at it, I see potential. You know what I'm saying? I see that there are things that he can do. There are things that will benefit him. His creativity is going to be greater than ever now. It's going to be greater than ever, because now he's experienced a part of life that he can testify and share with others. I don't care what they say about your brain. Let me tell you, they declared me retarded, mentally retarded. That's what they said about me. They said I was mentally retarded, that I shouldn't even have kids. That's what they told me. So I know if God can bring me through, that he can also bring my son through. And that's where I'm getting at tonight, is that I'm trusting God, and that, mental illness is real, but you don't have to be afraid of it. You don't have to be afraid of the people that go through it, because you're going to go through it too. And you go through it every day. Actually, every time you make a decision, guess what? That's your mentality making that decision. And guess what that is? Mental. Now, when it becomes ill is when you dwell on too many negative things. That's when it becomes ill, when you can't help but to think the negative things, and you're having trouble changing it, or either you're starting to see and hear things. That's when it becomes an illness. But everybody has a mentality. Everybody has a mental part about them, whether they are aware of it or not. Everybody has a mind. You hear me? Everybody has a mind. And just like our bodies, just like we have to exercise to keep it up, your mind, you have to do things that will exercise your mind, to keep it flexible, to keep it open, to keep it where it's not crowded with thoughts. You have to do that. And because if you don't, you're going to end up on medication. And, that's just the fact about a lot of people not even telling you. But a lot of church people are depressed. They are depressed. That's why they keep eating. They're depressed. A lot of church folk are depressed. A lot of school teachers, they're depressed. That's why they have the most divorces in the world. They can't hold a relationship, because they're going through so many thoughts in their head. The smartest people in the world go through depression, anxiety, and panic. And that's part of what makes them smart the way they are. For real, I'm trying to tell you. They go through all this stuff, and that's what makes them who they are. When you see unique people coming in, you're like, wow, it's finally good to see somebody that's different. Because now, if you really pay attention, we have a lot of young ladies and men who try to be everything that they see on TV. They try to dress the way they see this style on TV. They don't have any creativity of their own. And that's mental. That's a mental thing. When you can't decide how you look or how